Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's webinar. As we get started, I'd like you to notice some things about your WebEx console that you have there. If you're joining from a laptop, you have the opportunity to interact in the chat window. Sometimes the mobile applications don't allow all of the interaction with chat. So if you would like to chat, send a chat out to let us know where you're joining from tonight. You can locate the chat if it's not showing up by just moving your cursor somewhere and finding the floating icons down at the bottom of your screen, and it's the dialog bubble that pops up. And when you choose that, be sure to send it out to all participants. I know it says all attendees and all panelists, but you want to send it out to everybody with your location. Send it out to all participants. Great. I'm just looking up and down, seeing who all is here this evening. My name is Ruth. I'll be the host. I'm in the background tonight. I won't be presenting the content, but I'll be monitoring the chats as we go along. Stop and take a breath, look up and down, see who all is joining us. It does start at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 Eastern. We have several joining from lots of other places around the nation, so we try to pick a time that maybe you're not at work, you don't have another responsibility, so we're trying this time out. It's also the time that the other webinars that TI presents during the school year are offered, and those are regularly there on Tuesday nights. So we have this new IB series coming up on Thursday nights. I'm going to go ahead and get started with some introduction slides, and in a little bit Dan will be joining us to talk about the changes in the IB curriculum. If at any time you need to send a message just to me, the host, you would choose the host from the drop-down menu. You could also, once Dan joins us as the presenter, you can send it to him. If you choose all panelists, Dan and I will both get it. All right, so thanks for doing that with all participants. A couple of you have chosen all attendees. When you choose all attendees from that drop-down, it does not go to everybody. So if you want everybody to see it, choose all participants from the drop-down. Thanks so much. All right, moving along. This is the first in a series of webinars, and I'll just go through a couple of slides. And I'll also keep an eye on the chats. More people are joining us. That's me. You can read there about it. My role here is in the background just to be sure things are working and that Dan is available to talk to us and to share information for us. That's the Dan slide. Once Dan is here, we'll have Dan tell us a little bit more about what he's going to do tonight and what his background is. So we've been practicing a little bit with the chat. Q&A is also an option down there. Prefer the chat window because we're used to chats in other applications, but Q&A can also work. Reminder, and thanks again if you're chatting out your location, be sure and send it out to all participants. If at any time your audio disconnects, it is likely that it was something on your end, and so a way to get reconnected, in the very top of your WebEx console, you'll see Communicate, and you can choose to reconnect with that. So Communicate Audio Broadcast. Just try and reconnect. If you have issues, you can send something in the chat to me, and maybe I can help out with that. Okay, so looking at the chats up and down, we're seeing more people joining us. So there was information about the audio, reconnecting if you lose audio. This was the summary that was posted. We've been seeing it in some of the slides as they've been advancing. A reminder, there will be a drawing from the attendees tonight The winner of that drawing will receive complimentary registration to the 2020 International Conference for Teachers Teaching with Technology. So there will be a lucky winner tonight from those are attending. Yes, must be present to win. If you're watching this on the recorded version, sorry, you weren't at the live event. Try again next time. And yes, it will be recorded. Okay, you'll get email after this is over giving you links to how to get a certificate and also links to the information about a recording. So, hi, Dan.
Hello.
So there's your slide. You can tell us what you'd like to about the information on there. You can embellish however you desire.
All right. Hello, everybody. Sorry I was a few minutes delayed. Right now I am rehearsing for a show, and I was pretending to be an ogre. So I was doing a little singing and dancing. But now I'm back. Thank you all for signing on and listening to us tonight. We do have some exciting stuff to discuss. My name is Daniel Wilkie, and I am a T-Cubed instructor. I have been for the last, I'd say, 5 years now, this December. And I've been teaching math for the last, this is 22 years, but I need to update it, and I apologize. It's been for the last 24 years, and I've been teaching IB math for the last 16 years. So I'm also an IB examiner for math studies and a moderator for the math studies paper. So I've been working a lot with the IB, and I also get to work with TI. So my ultimate goal was to help the two of them come together. And about 3 or 4 months ago, we started this venture to increase, TI's presence in the IB world. So what we're going to go through tonight is basically just share that information. It's how has TI, come to the forefront to help out our wonderful IB math teachers, with the new curriculum changes. Because when I first got news that the IB maths were changing, this drastically, it made me nervous, as I'm thinking it made a lot of you nervous. So the goal here is for us to work together, and IB, I think they have the right idea in place, but, we're going to need some help, especially with the new twist in technology, because now technology is actually being built into the curriculum. So there's actually time spent, hours spent, that you should be working with technology. So just to move things along a little bit, I thought I would just kind of go through some of the changes that some of you may already know. And if, you already know this stuff and I'm telling you stuff that's not helping, that's fine. You can actually share your input also, especially for those people who've been to training, because I'm sure, as many of you are aware, IB loves its teachers to be trained, and the sessions that I've looked into over the end of last year and over this summer have pretty much been booked solid. So there's a lot of people trying to get trained, and I don't know who the people are who are registered, but if you have some insight that you learned from the trainings that you may or may not have been to, then please feel free to share in the chat room. Use the Q&A also for us. But there's so much information out there that I thought we would just do a little bit of that today, talk about some changes, and then I'd like to take the last 20 minutes or so, 15, 20 minutes, and then just kind of show you what TI has in store for those changes and how they're going to try to help with this process. Oh, and don't forget, we're also going to be talking about the new TI-Nspire CX2 that recently came out. And for those people who are wondering if they are allowed on IB exams, yes, they are. And we'll get into that discussion a little bit later. So first things first, I have a slide here.
Okay, while Dan's retrieving his slide, if you have the chat window open, you can see from Ruth Casey, that's me, your host tonight, you can see that I've shared a link with you. Okay, so that's in the chat window. I might shoot it out again in a minute or two when Dan is actually ready for me to share that with you. But there will be a link in the chat window about one of the documents. Okay, Dan. Dan, I think you're live, so if you want to share some things, you're all set.
Thank you. All right, so this first screen that I'm sharing with you all is just, the basic changes. What is happening for those people who aren't already aware? We are in our last year of teaching the former curriculum for IB Mathematics. So currently, we have 4 math subjects offered, further math, Math HL, Math SL, and then Math Studies SL. Now, they're basically changing all the names. All right, they're actually doing away with the subject of further math at HL because honestly, maybe about 200 people from around the world were taking that class. So it wasn't, not that it wasn't popular, it's just the level, it was out of the level of students' needs and wants. So they're doing away with that class. For the Mathematics HL and Mathematics SL, they are basically combining those 2 math classes into the new math class called Mathematics Analysis and Approaches. So the vast majority of material taught in those 2 courses will be under the name Analysis and Approaches. So for those people who think that there are vast amounts of changes happening, you should feel comfortable with that. I've been told by IB that 75 to 80% of the current material is still going to be taught. There have been some additions and deletions, but the vast majority, you are still good, with your classes. So we're kind of in that transition year, all right, is what do you teach this year, because technically IB wants you to be teaching basically all of its courses over 2 years. And so that's a definite must for the higher level math class, but what about the standard level? Because, if you were at my high school, we didn't teach it as a 2-year course. We taught pre-calculus, a junior year, and then students would take Math SL, their senior year. So we didn't teach it over 2 years, but we did fashion our pre-calculus class to kind of help out with the Mathematics SL class. So what do we do now with the new courses? Well, they made some tweaks to them. So I've been focusing on just the Math HL and Math SL, and I'll talk about the Math Studies in a second. But with respect to the Mathematics HL and Math SL, those courses, now under the name of Analysis and Approaches, are now subsets of one another. So the entire course of Mathematics SL, or under its new name, Mathematics Analysis and Approaches, that entire SL course is a complete subset of the HL course. So the 150 hours that you would teach for the SL course basically is now part of the 240 hours of the HL course. So 150 hours are identical within those 2 courses. And then the students would then, so in my estimation, the way I was going to do it at my school, because I was also the IB coordinator there, is we were going to teach the HL and SL group, together in that year 1, and then kind of split up the HL in their second year. So we didn't have to have multiple teachers teaching the same material, which I kind of liked. And I knew the teacher would have to do some differentiation based on the level of the student, but it was the same material. And they can throw in slightly different questions, harder questions, depending on the SL or HL ability. But, I did like that we could save a teaching space with respect to that. Now, the biggest difference with respect to the mathematics HL course, we know we had options with our students, so they got to select, the calculus option, which is probably the most common one. They could do the probability and statistics option or that such thing. So they've taken the calculus option and put the vast majority of that material in the analysis and approaches. Okay, so the new mathematical analysis and approaches HL course is very, very similar to the mathematics HL course with the calculus option. All right, so what happened to the other options? Well, they basically got sprinkled into the other mathematics course. So the mathematics studies class is now being replaced with the mathematics applications and interpretation. So the applications and interpretations is for the more technological, applying it to the real world. Not that the analysis and approaches is not applying it to the real world, but there's definitely a technological edge to the applications and interpretations class. And so you will see in the next document that I share that that's where the other material is being transferred to, the other options that are currently in the Math HL. So that's an interesting course. I don't know, at my school we are definitely offering the applications and interpretations course. I don't know if we're offering the HL version of it. I guess we'll just have to tell in time. So we'll see how that goes. And just to kind of talk about some of the hours, okay, for the analysis and approaches, you will see that in the syllabus content there are 5 main topics, and their teaching hours are as such. You'll notice 150 for SL and 240, but there is overlapping, okay. So the SL is a subset of the HL, but there's one other little twist that IB threw with the new math courses, and that is called the core. So what they did is they selected topics that are covered in all 4 subjects. So there is 60 hours worth of material that is the same material taught in approaches and analysis, applications and interpretations at both the SL and HL level. So for those people who are unaware of that, that's a new thing, okay? Because for those people who teach studies, you know that the type of questions that they ask are usually really different than what the SL and HL are asked. So there is going to be some overlap now. So the same types of questions in all 4 courses will be asked. So there's 60 hours of core material that are going to be taught now in those classes. And this is just the sampling of the hours and the breakdown of the 5 different main topics, general topics. You'll notice that there's 30 hours for the development of an investigational problem solving and modeling skills and the exploration. So that's where your written paper comes into play. For those teachers who are teaching Math SL and HL right now, that's the same type of math exploration that you've been doing. So there's really no change to that. But if we look at the applications and interpretations, it has the same breakdown of the hours. SL is a subset of the HL. They have a common core, 60 hours. But you'll notice under the 30 hours, it says development of investigational problem solving modeling skills and the exploration. So the big question is, what about the math studies project, the paper that is written that's usually a statistics paper? Now, I've been a moderator for IB Math Studies for the studies project for the last 5 years, and 90 to 95% of the papers I get are statistical based. They are chi-squared, they are line of best fit, they are, correlation. So that is the vast majority of papers you get. So one big complaint and worry that I hear from teachers is the IA going to be completely overhauled and different? Here's what IB told me. They said that they graded this year's papers under the new standards, the new curriculum, and they basically, the vast majority were 95% or higher, the same grade. So even though it's technically not a straightforward statistical paper, students that are comfortable with statistics can still do a statistical paper and perform well with the IA. So we're still in that transition year, though, because we're at the end of the 7-year cycle for this year. So we're only at the beginning stages of teaching. So we'll just have to wait to see the feedback going forward. All right. I think that was all I wanted to show here. So here's my fun document that, no, they were not graded differently. For Aaron, your quick question I saw pop up there, they are still graded the same. And even next year's papers will still be graded the same way. It isn't until 2021 that the new grading will fall into place. So the actually studies was not graded differently. What they did is they just wanted to take a sample to compare if there were any major differences in how they're currently graded with how they're going to be graded. So they're just doing some testing right now just to see how it works. So we're still on the old grading scale, old grading criterion for this year, of course, we just passed, and then for the next year. So we still are on the old, all right, for that. The change won't happen again until 2021. All right, so I just wanted to tell you that. All right, thank you, Aaron, for the question. That was good. So there was a document that when you first joined into the webinar, it was a PDF. If you saw that, or if you still have access to that, that was the link that, oh, Ruth, great job, perfect timing, she was going to share with you. I ran a face-to-face discussion with about 30 to 40 teachers in South Carolina, IB math teachers in South Carolina, and we spent a lot of time on this document. This, it's going to look confusing at first, but this is what you're going to kind of look at for what has changed, what is staying the same, and what the new courses are going to look like. All right, so this, I just call this document What's New, and I got this from a friend who's also a T-Cubed instructor, but he's also a former chief examiner for IB Math HL, and he is right now training. He's at a lot of the training sessions around the country. His name is Jim Nakamoto, so if you've had him or if you're going to have him as an instructor, he's great. And so he's the one who shared this document with me, and this is what I've been going off of when I talk to people. So what you'll see is several columns, and the two columns on the left are the applications and interpretations courses. The two columns on the right are the analysis and approaches. So pointing out some of the important information, you'll see that there are some asterisks by some of the topics. So SL Content 1.1, you'll see a little asterisk. That is, the asterisk means that it's part of the core. So those are the topics that are covered in all 4 subjects. All right? And remember that now the SL content is a complete subset of the HL content. So everything in that first column that's in that kind of light green is going to be taught in the second column. So for the applications and the interpretations, everything, like I said, in that first column will be part of the higher level content. So the 2 columns make up the higher level content, but the first column only is your SL content. All right. Now, so I explained the asterisk. The other thing that's very important is the purple that you see. Those are the topics, okay, that are new, okay? So those have been added to the subject. So if you kind of scroll through that, I don't know if you have access to that. I'm going to take my time kind of going through this So if you didn't have access to it or can't get it, that's fine. I just want you to have a look at the content that's in here. So if wherever you see a purple, that's kind of a new thing that's been added in there. So again, we're in just topic 1. And you'll see a lot of similarities to what you're currently teaching in your SL studies and the SL and HL courses. But, you know, there are some new things that are thrown in there. But the vast majority has already been there. So again, if I scroll back up, you'll see that the use of sigma notation for sums of arithmetic sequences and the use of sigma notation for geometric sequences. That's the new stuff there, you know. Everything else you should hopefully already be teaching. Now, one thing, and I'll get to this kind of toward the end of the document, there's also a spot toward the end of this PDF that shows you the major additions and subtractions. And there are a couple big ones in there. But this is, like I said, a wonderful discussion. Take it to your school, take it to your district, and share this with them to kind of show them this is what's going to be happening very soon. We need to start, you know, again, traditional schools where if you do teach it over 2 years, you're actually going to start teaching the math next year for the year 1 courses. And I didn't see that question that popped up, so I'll have to take a look at that. And I'm going to get, thank you for that question. I'm going to, Amanda, hey, how are you? All right. Nice to see that you've logged on tonight. So I have another document that kind of shows the progression of what you are currently teaching and what you should kind of replace or what you should keep teaching. So that's a great question, and we'll get to that. I have another document to show you there. So again, kind of scrolling through, all right, you'll kind of see some new things happening. But I would like to show you that piece at the end because I have a funny story. When I was teaching or doing my little presentation to the South Carolina teachers, here is the chart. I told you that here are the additions and subtractions for your comparisons from, in that first column is applications from the studies, and then the second column is your analysis from the math SL, and then your HL column. But one big thing, if you notice, kind of the third line down is the logic. The 20 hours of logic is no longer going to be part of the curriculum. And Tammy Brown, yes, thank you. BC will still be great for that. So because the vast majority of the calculus option went into the analysis and approaches higher level, that is still going to be the nice lead into that course. So thank you, Tammy, for answering that. So logic, I had a teacher who said she started literally crying when she found out that all the logic was going to be taken away. And I didn't cry necessarily, but I was sad because logic was actually an interesting topic to teach my students. It got them away from the actual number side of things. So that's a little sad to me. But you'll also notice that number sets are now in prior knowledge, okay? And something that else has gone away is currency conversion. There's always 1 to 2 questions on the studies exam that are currency conversion. I just got done, well, I'm actually still in the middle of grading students, or I do the inquiry upon results grading also, and so I'm still kind of going over that, but it's amazing how currency conversion has always been a part of the studies exam, and now it's gone. So so just be aware of those. Those are two of my big, subtractions: the logic and the currency conversion. But just kind of looking through, you can kind of scan through what the main subtractions. You'll notice that in the analysis and approaches class, no vectors, okay, and volumes of revolution are gone, okay. But now we get, yay, simple deductive proofs and regression. So so different things have been added, but some things have been taken away, of course. So this, like I said, this document has been a godsend for me, especially when teachers come and ask me about things. I can quickly look at what's going on with the curriculum and what I should be teaching, because, like I said, the vast majority is still as is. You just have to know where things have been placed in the actual topics, because the topics are slightly different too. So just kind of be aware of that. So keep that document. That is the one I refer to most. Just use it as you need to, please. And how many people have taught Voronoi diagrams before? As you notice, that's an addition to the applications class. That's something I just learned about, this past spring. I've never taught that before, but it's going to be interesting in the new applications class. Anyways, I'm going to go to another document just to kind of show you what IB put together with respect to how to transition, their recommendations, all right, for the transition, okay. So you'll notice that, and I'm having trouble seeing here right now. So the current course, your Mathematics Studies SL1, should be going to applications. That's pretty straightforward, pretty obvious. But a good question comes up to, what if you don't teach a 2-year math studies course? Because at my school, we basically required the students to have at least Algebra 2 under their belt before they can take math studies. So what do we do, with respect to that? Honestly, if you tailor your math classes to accommodate your IB classes, there shouldn't be too much difference. I would still recommend that a student have at least Algebra 2, before they went to the applications class. But, to be on the safe side, it's always good to have even that pre-calculus level. It's not mandatory for that, but, it's really up to your school and how it will fit in the schedule. I wish, all schools can go to 2-year courses but in South Carolina, we had a lot of issues with the name of the course and if it actually meets the requirements for graduation. We had so many difficulties with the state code that if we called it IB Math Studies Year 1, they, for one, couldn't get an IB level weighting, because for an SL course, they can only get 1 year of IB weighting with their GPA. So we had to call it a seminar class, and then once we called it a seminar class, it didn't count as a math class. It counted as an elective. So it really depends on your state. It really depends on your district and how you name your class and what you go through. But basically, if you did our approach where you took an AP calculus class to lead into your higher level math class, I think that is a safe bet to do that again going into now the analysis and approaches higher level. For me, to go into the analysis and approaches standard level, I would always require my students to have a pre-calculus class. But this document, which again will be sent to you, after the presentation, will definitely give you some recommendations on how you should go through. If you'll notice the different if what you're currently doing, and then what you should be doing going forward. Now, this is on the basis of what IB thinks, okay? And to be honest with you, you know, if you agree with them, that's fine. If you don't, then just make sure that the material that you're teaching kind of covers what is expected from an IB class. But I just wanted to just share that quickly with you, just to kind of go over, you know, what IB is recommending. All right. Again, this is a complete IB document. This was handed out to when I was at the global conference last year, when it was in, gosh, where was it? San Diego. I got to meet with IB a day before the conference started, and you know, this was handed out then as their recommendations for what we should be progressing to for the new courses. The next thing I'd like to show you, and hopefully for all of you who are logged in, since you are hopefully IB teachers, you have access to your MyIB website. So if you go and log into MyIB, you will find so much help there, all right, for your actual class. So what we want to go is go to Program Resource Center. Once we are at our website, come on, good. And then we can kind of go to our diploma program and go to our math. So you'll notice for the mathematics section, we do have, you know, the 2 new courses, plus we still have the old courses. Because that was another question I kept getting is, are they going to get rid of all the old stuff for the old courses? No, they will not. Because, again, we still have 1 more year to go on the old math. All right, so just keep that in mind that the same information that was there is still there. But if I were to just click on the mathematics applications and interpretations, all right, you will have this information there for you. So please take some time, especially with school about to start. I know some people are actually starting next week, or I don't know if anybody has started already, which is still crazy to me. There is a lot of important information because this is where you should be going for this first year of teaching, so you know what am I doing to kind of overlap with what I've done in the past. So a lot of this information will be very useful. And they also have sample assessments, okay? So please take a look at that website, all right? So that's from the IB side of things. So like I said, for the last 15, 20 minutes, you know, I wanted to talk about, well, what is TI doing? What are we doing to help out the transition to IB for the new math classes? Well, I was talking with my wonderful friends at TI, and they want to be helpful, all right? First things first is, you know, what can TI do to help the teacher? Because if you don't realize it, the reason TI is a successful company on the education side of things is because it's teacher-driven. When I first started with TI, you know, I got involved in the teacher feedback program, you know, and for that lucky winner who gets, you know, a free registration to the T-Cube conference in March, you know, please use that, because go in and become a teacher, part of their feedback program, because one of the best things to do is to have a voice in what happens next, okay? So if you have the, you know, if your school or district can back you going to the conference in Dallas in March, please, I recommend it wholeheartedly, because not only will you get 3 days of technology, you know, enhancement, education, learning, but, okay, you can talk to the people at TI and get more involved. And, you know, I can honestly say that I was part of, you know, helping out with the new calculator that just came out. And so, you know, that's because, not because I'm an instructor, but just because I'm a teacher who, you know, who wants to be involved and have a voice with TI. And they want to listen to us. They really do. Every 6 months, they improve their calculator operating systems, and I think that's just wonderful. And they do that because they hear feedback from teachers, and so please take advantage of that. But what are they going to do for us? So I'm going to go to the IB website, okay, which is education.ti.com /en/IB. And this is the new IB website under the TI umbrella. So what they asked me to do is they asked me to work with people in Australia and Europe and Asia to come up with some activities that are currently already housed on the TI website that could relate to what IB is trying to accomplish. So the first step in our procedure was to go through the hundreds and hundreds of activities and see what can we use. So that was my first step, is just to, well, I have to say I was the second step, because the people in Australia, and they just gave me a list of like hundreds of activities that can be used. And then I went to them and said, okay, well, these could be correlated to different topics in the IB subjects. And so we put together a list of roughly 25 to 30 activities for both the TI-Nspire and then the TI-84 to kind of help you in your classrooms when you're teaching IB. So you'll notice that in the Browse Activities, we have a section for curriculum topic. So there are your 5 topics that you can select, or you can just kind of look at all of the activities that are listed. So if I were to select calculus, then we'd have these 5 to kind of pop up. But then we also have the technology. So we have the Nspire and the 84 and 83. So basically what we tried to do is just to hit the ground running, is we wanted to get some activities that already existed in the TI mainframe, so you can have access to something for your first year of teaching coming up. Our goal is then to, over the next year, is to start creating new IB-specific activities. So we wanted to give you something right away, so this is what we did. And to make it more IB, we have also started writing exam-style questions that can go along with each of these activities. So we are trying to build kind of like a test bank of different IB questions that you can actually bring to your classrooms. And just kind of a sample, I can kind of show you what I've been working on. So this is just one. I've written 25 of them. All right, so we got 25 to start, but we're going to keep adding more and more every month just to kind of give you something to use. Now, if you are an IB teacher, you will recognize this. I tried to write it as you would see it on the exam. So what I've done is I've written the question and given you the mark scheme. Now, it's up to you when you access this on the website to kind of you pick and choose what you want. So I'm just really excited that you're going to have your own kind of test bank to choose from. And we have like 5 for each topic so far. I know it's not a whole lot right now, but we're going to be adding more and more. So I'm hoping that you will find some use out of this and, get really excited. Seriously, Aaron, I'm sorry. I am so sorry to hear that. But this is what we're working on right now. So, again, I can't wait to share this with everybody. I don't think the questions are up there yet, but they will be. They will be soon. So that was, the actual, let me go back. So, again, we have for both analysis and approaches and applications and interpretations. And then you'll notice below it we have live webinars. That's where every one of these that we're going to be doing will be posted. All right. And then we also have webinars that have already been done from around the world that are going to be, you'll have access to that, because if you didn't realize it, IB is international. and our friends in Australia are kind of ahead of the curve. And they actually have been doing webinars in association with IB. So this is really cool. And I'm very excited. And then I've been talking for, 40 minutes straight. and I apologize for that. Okay, so Tammy, thank you. What we're going to do, I love that. I'm going to write that down, what you said, because that is stuff I want to hear when I'm working, with activities and with the questions. All right. Patricia, with respect to science, okay, so I know we want to, okay, because the gentleman who kind of runs things with respect to, who got in touch with me, Dale Philbrick, he wanted to start off with math to kind of get the ball rolling to see how we can accomplish what we wanted to. And then as we progress on, he actually does want to do the same thing with science. So thank you for that. And I'll share that information with him too, because that's good that we have interest in that. Thank you for that feedback. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about is, what about the new, actually, let me just kind of click on an activity just to kind of show you that. Let's see, find the sign. So if you click on the activity, basically we have the Nspire documents just like you would if you went, but now this is kind of accommodating for your need in your classroom. So you'll have all the documents, kind of looking nice, clean, and crisp. And I love the ideas. We're going to do the new topics, all right, first. That's awesome. And again, I'm hoping eventually that we can do science in the near future. I just need some willing science teachers who know their IB stuff to help out with that. So anybody who's interested, give me a message. I would love some help. But the last thing is the actual new calculator that's come out. So I want to briefly just talk about that. Let's see. So I'm just kind of going to show you something really quick with respect to the new calculator. We have those. Yes, I love that, Amanda. Thank you. So the new calculator that just came out this spring, the TI-Nspire CX2 graphing calculator. So you'll notice that they are snazzy looking in white and blue. The white one being the CX2 non-CAS, the numeric variety, and then the CX2 CAS is the blue. So looking at this, what is new, what is exciting? For one, the processing is so much better, so much faster. And for those people who like to use the touchpad, that is so much user-friendly. I know this, my students always love using the touchpad. Now it's actually more reactive to an actual touchpad. Maureen, that is a good question. We are trying to, and that is something we're working on, is to write the same activities for both. All right, so you can do both of them. So yes, thank you. And again, I love this feedback. And I know we're working on that because, I'm an Nspire user, but there are a lot of people who love their 84s. All right. And the 84 pluses, we're gonna work on that to make it user friendly for both. So thank you. We're gonna make you happy, definitely. We will do it. You're welcome. So just kind of, Tammy, me too. They did such a good job with their AP resources, especially with the calculus and going through the old exam questions, that I'm excited to do a very similar thing. We have a lot of 84 people. Okay. That is good to hear. So thank you. Everybody raise your hand if you're an 84 user. So you guys are awesome. I love doing this. Okay. Just to kind of let you know, for those people who are in the market for buying new calculators, TI-84 forever. Wonderful. I would recommend people getting the CAS version, because in the new updated operating system with the CX2, you can turn off the CAS function. So basically, you'll notice that the check mark there, both calculators are approved on SAT, AP, and IB, because you have the ability to turn off the CAS function, either manually. So what is the CAS function? So basically, that's called the computer algebra system. It's where you can solve, one quick example is if you can solve an answer with a variable in it. So if we were taking a derivative of x cubed, the calculator would actually give you 3x squared, because it is non-numeric. You can actually have, variables in your answer. So you can take an infinite limit with respect to, on your calculator, instead of getting an error message on just the non-CAS version. But again, that's a little too much. Yes, thank you. Students could. So how can you help with the transition of that? Well, what I would recommend you to do, all right, is basically you need to learn, and I hate to do this to you, you need to learn about the Nspire and the differences between the keystrokes on the Nspire and the 84, so that if a student knows how to use the 84 or the Nspire, and then they come to your 84 classroom, then you can kind of be the translator for them. And you can get that software. You can get a free download, a 90-day trial for it, just to learn it. And actually, if you send me a message, and I'll basically type in my email here. If you want to send me a message, I can send you a document that's kind of a step-by-step or, little Nspire for Dummies document that you can kind of go through and learn yourself, so you can be that translator from the Nspire to the 84. You're welcome. Yes, the Nspire is so much more keyboard friendly, savvy, as you said. Okay, we are running out of time here, and last thing I wanted to say. Oh yeah, so coming up in the next several months, and the first one is actually at the end of this month. What we're trying to do is once a month we're going to do a webinar and focus on the different topics. So there are 5 topics. All right, so we're going to go through topic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Yes, the students are definitely more savvy. You are correct. So we're going to do a webinar per topic over each of the next several months, and then another webinar that we're going to do is we're going to focus on the internal assessment only, and show you how IB or how TI can help with the internal assessment. All right. So the next one, again, it was just posted by Ruth. Thank you, Ruth. Is the IB Math Curriculum Topic 1, Number and Algebra. So we're going to do, what are the changes? We're going to dig in a little bit deeper because I kind of just showed you a brief overview. So we're going to dig into the changes, what you should be teaching, and then basically we're going to talk about how TI can help you with that and what activities are available to you and what the calculators can do, both the 84 and the Nspire. So for all my 84 users, it's not just going to be Nspire based, so we'll do both. So we'll try to make everybody as happy as we can. All right. But I hope you like listening to my voice for the last 50 minutes. Yes, you will be notified. We're actually starting, there's a lot of emails going out very soon, so yes, you will be notified. So the next one is August 22nd, so mark that on your calculator. Thank you all so terribly much for logging in and joining me. Thank you, Mary. That's awesome to hear. And I can't wait. Yes, and I'll be doing all the other ones. So now I'm going to hand it over to, I'll be doing all the other ones, and we might have others joining in, but I will be part of all the others. So now, you're welcome, and I'm going to hand it back over to Ruth. So let me, I'm going to stop sharing there, and I'm going to hand it over to Ruth so she can do the drawing. All right. So
Thanks,
Ruth,
Dan.
go ahead.
Thank you. I've been trying to
You're
keep
welcome.
up with what's going on in the chat and at the same time do the random drawing for the winners. So we were emailed a list of the people who were pre-registered for the event, and so that was an Excel spreadsheet. There were 107 names on that spreadsheet, so I used the random integer feature, my TI-Nspire CX2, or on my TI-84 Plus, either one. It works exactly the same way. When I did random int, I got number 16, and I looked at the list, and I had to be sure that number 16 on my Excel list was actually in attendance tonight, and woohoo, that person was here in attendance. I hope that she's still here. If not, I have to do another drawing. That was, let's see, did I post it yet? I thought I did. That was Allison Bluge. Is Allison still with us tonight? I'm hoping so. Must be present to win.
Oh, she's here.
Woohoo! You are the winner. So what happens is I email the TI folks that are in charge of conference registration, and they contact you and let you know about it. So looking forward to seeing you there. I hope it works out for you to attend, so that somebody will be contacting you. Congratulations to Allison.
Congrats, Allison.
Okay, so we've put some things over there. Dan put his contact information. That'll also be in some follow-up email that you'll likely be getting. You'll be getting a follow-up email with a link to the document. It's the same one that you got a link to tonight. You'll be getting in that information about the link to the recording. If there's something you want to see or hear again, or if a colleague was unable to sign on with us tonight, or signed in and didn't have any audio and just said, I'll wait and come back and view the recording. That information will be in an email. You can also find it at education.ti.com under Professional Development Webinars. To register for the next one, you'd go to Live Webinars. To view the recording of this one, you'd go to On Demand Webinars. I think that's about it for us tonight.
I have one, there's a quick question.
Sure.
That I was being asked about a comparison of AP courses with IB courses. The way we've done it at our schools that I've taught IB at is since AP is only done in 1 year, it's tough to compare it to one IB math class. The best comparison is we used to teach the IB higher level in conjunction with the BC calculus. So they would basically, by the end of their 2 years, they would take the HL course and the BC course. And I know other schools do the BC calculus their junior year and then the IB HL their senior year. But that's a comparison there. With respect to statistics, there isn't any straightforward comparison because there's a little statistics in all the math courses, but not to the level of a complete AP statistics course. So it's really tough to do a straightforward comparison with that. Hopefully that helped. But if you have any more questions, please email me. I'll be happy to share any of the documents that maybe you didn't get or any more. I got tons of them, trust me. I only shared a few. So please let me know. Thank you all so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you all. Good night.